What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler, a true banger of a video. But before we get any further, ladies and gentlemen, the first episode of the Gobcast, my official podcast, is out right now. The launch is here. We're dropping every week on the Pine Park channel. The podcast episode 1 will be linked in the comment section below, so go check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, the wait is over. The Gobcast is finally here, and my first guest is someone you probably don't expect. So, hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you all for supporting, being patient. I really appreciate it. I apologize for the hiatus and uploads on this channel, but I've been cooking. We're back to business here. So, hope you guys enjoy this video, and without further ado, let's dive right into it. Now, this took place a few years ago, back in early 2021, and at this point in my life, I was still on my drug-induced rampage, ladies and gentlemen. I was popping Xans, I was doing blow, but this was kind of towards the end. Late 21 is when I officially kind of quit everything, you know? I mean, I still dabbled here and there, but that's when, at least in my eyes, I really stopped being a full day-in, day-out degen, right? Hey, you know, I'm still a degenerate at heart, but this was a different era. But on this fateful day, I had a buddy who in this video we're going to refer to as Marvin. And he's been referred to as something else in a few other videos. However, for this one, we're going to give him a one-time, one-of-one incognito name. And the reason for that is because we're talking about his medical condition in this video. And I don't know if he wants that publicized or not. So I'm going to be very vague at some points here to respect my homie's privacy. But either way, in early 2021, my homie Marvin hit me up and told me that he was in the hospital. He had a condition where sometimes he had to go to the hospital and get surgeries done, and I don't really know very much about the condition or like what kind of surgeries he was having. I just know that periodically he'd end up in the hospital for a few days. So he had hit me up at this point and he told me, listen bro, I'm in the hospital. Can you come through? I am fiending, bro. Like, bring me anything. I'm itching, dude. I need your help. And at this point, also, a lot of our hometown homies had kind of moved out of the area, including myself. I lived 3 hours south of my hometown where my homie was in the hospital. So I packed all my goodies. I told him, my boy, say less. Hey, I'm popping out tomorrow. So I packed all my goodies. I brought my Xans. He told me he mainly wanted bars. So I packed hella. I packed extra for this man. He only wanted like 5, I believe is what he asked for. I packed him goodies. We gave him way more than 5. I threw the Xans in the bag. I threw some blow in there. I brought my weed. And I hit the road the next day. Now, at this point in my life, I believe this was right around when I got my license back. So I don't remember if... Oh, man. I don't think I was licensed, but it didn't matter if I had my license or not either way because I didn't have car insurance, and the car I was driving had a plate on it registered to a different car, and the car was not registered to me. So, listen, the driving license was the least of concerns during this road trip. I packed all my stuff, and I took the back roads up north. This was something that I did frequently. Not super frequently, but frequently enough to kind of know the route, know which roads to avoid, know where the speed traps were typically going to be. So I wasn't really that scared. You know, I was pretty used to it at this point. I drove on up north in my terribly illegal car, got there a little too late to visit Marvin. By the time I got up, you know, I tweaked a little bit. It was too late, and the hospital had visitation hours. So there was a window where you could show up, and it was like daytime, you know? It was like, I think it was like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., all the way to like, I don't remember when it ended, like, I don't know, 9 p.m., I would imagine, somewhere around there. But either way, they had visitation hours, and I pulled up a little too late to make it. By the time I got up north and got to town and got settled, I only would have had like 30 minutes to be there anyway. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just pull up tomorrow. And Marvin was like, bet. Bright and early, please. I'm itching. I'm fiending. So I spent the night chilling at my mom's house, and usually when I drove up north to visit, I wouldn't stay at my mom's, because my mom didn't want me doing all my drugs there. But this time around, I had been living on my own for long enough where our relationship had mended a little bit, so I was allowed to come do drugs in my old childhood bedroom. And that's what I did. I popped a couple bars, chilled out for the evening. I didn't go too hard. I just vibed, you know? I was back at my mom's house. And listen, those of you drug addicts who have grown up and moved out of your parents' house, I'm sure many of you can relate to this. Your relationship with your parents mends pretty quickly when you're not doing the drugs in their house. So the following morning, I woke up bright and early, and I remember I even set my alarm for this. This was a very serious ordeal. I woke up around like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I remember by the time I got to the hospital, it was like right when the visitation opened. I got there at 9 o'clock sharp, and I brought all my goodies. I brought my Xans, I brought my blow, I brought my weed, and that was my typical loadout. Sometimes you'd swap things out for like ketamine, but usually that was my loadout at this point in my life. So I get to the hospital and I had to, check myself in and all that. And then they told me where to go to get to Marvin's room. Now, once I pulled up to Marvin's room, this man was ecstatic. And I told him I was coming early in the morning, but I didn't hit him up and tell him like, I'll be there in 5, so he didn't know exactly what time I was coming. So when I walked in the room, this man shot straight up. He sat all the way 90-degree angle instantly, just teleported up. This man was hype. And I was very impressed that he did that. That probably took a lot of energy out of him because he had some sort of, I think it was like either a bone or a muscle condition. So they probably had him jacked up on some shit where he was feeling weak. So that just goes to speak the power of Xanax. This man sat straight up and praised the power as it entered the room. So myself, the powerful man possessing all the power, all the Xans, walking in this room, I dap up my boy Marvin. I'm asking him how he's doing, and we spent no time catching up. I mean, it was an immediate what you got for me. So I busted it out. And Marvin was a very nice guy. He was always insistent on paying. Like, if I offered him free stuff, he'd always get me back somehow. Whether he'd pay me or whatever it was, he'd get me back somehow, right? So I busted out a bag, and he's like, yeah, let me buy 5 of them bitches. And I was like, no, my boy. You could pay me for a few, but I'm going to give you more on your order. So he bought 5, very insistent on 5. I threw him 10. That's the homie, of course. We threw him the double down. We gave him a nice, generous amount. And I remember I still had enough left over for myself, too. So we were hooting. Now, at this point, my Xanax tolerance was also absolutely through the roof. I was off enough Xanax on a daily basis to take down Charlie Sheen. This was not a light amount of substances that I was used to at this point. So popping 1 or 2 ladders was pretty light work for me, and that's exactly what we did. I popped a ladder, Marvin popped 2, and we're vibing in this hoe. Now, honestly, the beginning of our visit wasn't very eventful. We popped a couple bars, we kind of chilled out. At the end of the day, we're in the hospital, so there's not really a ton that we could do. Now, he wasn't really hooked up to any crazy machines either. I mean, he had like a little IV, but he told me it was just water. Like, I don't know if it was actually, I can't imagine it was actually just water. Like, there had to be like some like medicine in there, right? Like, do they really just hook you up to water? I don't know, bro. I've been in the hospital like twice. But either way, he was relatively like free to move around, it appeared, for the most part. I mean, he had surgery, like it wasn't really supposed to be moving, but it's not like he was strapped up to the bed on 9 different machines. So we're vibing, we're barred out, we're just watching some TV, fucking around, chatting. He's asking me how shit's been going in the new area. I've been filling him in because Marvin never really got a chance to come down to visit. I think he came down like 1 time, but it was very brief. It was more like, I happen to be driving through here. I'll pull up and say what's up. Then yeah, I'm coming and staying for a few days. So I'm filling him in on all the shenanigans. We're chatting it up. And as the bars kind of set in, maybe an hour, 30 minutes to an hour went by, we decided that we wanted to get high. And I was also very, very willing to provide that experience, okay? I had already brought the weed with me. So I busted it out, and I realized pretty quick that I had a very massive oversight here. And that oversight was the fact that I didn't bring any wraps. Now, Marvin obviously did not have any wraps. He was in the hospital. This man did not have wraps. So I was now given a quest. Now, luckily for me, hospitals are usually surrounded by a million different things. You're going to be able to find a gas station, a bunch of different restaurants. There's a little hospital economy that pops up around any big hospital. So if you need some shit like wraps, usually you just got to go across the street. You're not going to have to actually leave and go somewhere to get anything. So I'm like, shit, man, we got to get these wraps. And obviously I'm not about to ask Marvin, yeah, bro, just go across the street, dude. This gas station over there. So I leave my bag in the room with him. I leave my goodies. I say, Marvin, I trust you to take good care of my belongings. And I just walked right across the street. Now, across the street from this hospital were some goodies, okay? I mean, like I said earlier, it had all the typical across from the hospital stuff. You know, you got your McDonald's, you got your fast food, you got the gas station. So I walked on over to the gas station. And at this point, I was 22, right? So I didn't have to worry about finding a spot to ID me or nothing. You know, I just, went right in, bought my wraps. Now, listen, I was a very classic young gentleman, okay? I bought Swisher Sweets, okay? Swisher Sweet Diamonds in particular. Whenever I was with the homies, listen, it was a Swisher Diamond, okay? I know. A lot of people talk about, oh, you should use a leaf, I never really liked any of the leaves, you know? Nowadays, I take bong rips and I smoke J's. I don't even do blunts at all anymore. It's been years since I've rolled a Swisher, I think. Looking back at it, I really don't know the last time I rolled a Swisher, but at this point, I was still down for the Swisher Sweets. So here I am at like 9 a.m. on a weekday while society around me is clocked into their jobs, working hard, being responsible citizens, and here I am barred out of my fucking mind, walking across the street to buy a pack of Swishers to try to somehow smoke them at the hospital. So I walk on across the street, I grab the Swishers, and I come straight back. It only took me maybe 10, 15 minutes altogether. You know, I get back to the hospital, go up to Marvin's room, and now we have to figure out a real plan. Originally, our plan was like, okay, we'll just go get some wraps and then we'll open the window. No problem, right? No question. Easy. So I go grab the wraps, I come back, I go to the room, and then we realize very quickly that the windows don't open. They don't open at all. They don't open in any way. I don't know if this is like a normal hospital thing. I don't know if this is just this hospital. I figured maybe they want you to get a little fresh air while you're on your deathbed, but the windows in this room did not open. So I'm like, well, we've got a predicament on our hands, folks. We've got a real situation on our hands here. Like, this is not good. So I realized pretty quickly that we have a couple options. It's either three options, not a couple. We have a thruple of options, okay? A, we gotta hotbox the bathroom. B, we gotta somehow sneak Marvin out of this hospital so we can go outside and smoke. Or C, give it up. And C was not really an option. So actually, there was a couple all along after all. It was A, we're smoking in the bathroom, or B, we're sneaking Marvin out of this bitch. And we're sitting there debating on it. Mind you, we're barred out. So you gotta realize we were having terrible ideas. We thought that smoking a Swisher Sweet in the hospital bathroom was definitely a safe play if we just put a towel under the door and turn the fan on. We thought that was a surefire, foolproof solution. And mind you, I've smoked in a hospital bathroom before, right? I was ripping dabs. That's the difference, okay? I had an e-rig in the hospital when I was there. So this is a whole different ballgame. A Swisher Sweet in the bathroom is diabolical, okay? Now, this was also shortly after I had done that little bathroom session, my hospital stay that I was telling you about. Just a few months prior to this, maybe 6 months earlier, I was in the hospital myself. So I was feeling a little bald. And the Xanax, combined with my recent bathroom sesh success, meant that we were going to give this a shot. So our barred out brains came together, and I went and checked out the scene in the bathroom. I told Marvin, I said, my boy, let me see what we're working with in here. And listen, every hospital bathroom, at least that I've seen, is relatively the same, okay? You got the tile floor, you got the shower, you got the toilet, and the sink, and they're kind of all one thing. Like, there's not really, like, a separate shower. Like, the whole bathroom is just kind of a shower. You know, listen, hospital bathrooms are weird, all right? But I get it, you know, wheelchair accessible, yada, yada. Either way, I'm scoping it out, and I see we got a big old fan in there. So that's good news. That means we have somewhere for the smoke to go other than the hallway. So I start flipping switches, trying to figure out how to turn the fan on, and I get it going. And listen, I don't know what kind of shits were being dropped in this bathroom, but this is an industrial grade bathroom fan. I'm talking, if I put my meat up close enough to this thing, it would suck me up harder than Tiana Trump. It would have sucked me dry, okay? This was an aggressive fan. So as soon as I turned the fan on and I heard that, I was like, all right, I think we could probably get away with this. I think we could pull this off. So I walk back out of the bathroom and I tell Marvin, I say, my boy, I think we're locked in. I think it's time, right? So he hops out of bed, he unhooks himself from whatever. I mean, he said it was water, so I guess he unhooked himself from water. I mean, I don't know, maybe it wasn't water. I just have a hard time believing it was just an IV of water. Like, there's no way. Like, just drink some water, dog. They just hand you a cup. You know, you got a sink. I don't know. Either way, so he jumps out of bed, and we head over to the bathroom, and then we realize that we were just too barred out and excited to get high because I hadn't even rolled the blunt yet. But it was a Swisher, and they are unbelievably easy to roll. Listen, if you're trying to learn the basics of rolling, like just how to seal a wrap and how to, properly pack it, Swishers are a pretty good place to start because they almost roll themselves. Like, it is nearly impossible to fuck up a Swisher. It is beyond easy. So either way, I twisted up fast. I was always fast with the Swisher rolls. I'm talking like couple minutes, I'll have it ready to rumble, right? But it was going to be a good roll, too. Not no hoopla roll, a good roll, right? So I twisted up the Swisher for us. We head in the bathroom, we close the door, we get the fan going, we put a towel up against the bottom. We had all the strats. And finally, we sparked this blunt. Now listen, we sparked it, and at first we're like, okay, I think it's going to be all right. Like we got this fan above us, everything should be good, right? I spark it up. I take a couple hits, I pass it over to Marvin, he takes a couple hits, and we get, I'd estimate, maybe like 15 or 20% of the way through the blunt. We each got like maybe 4 puffs total, and then we realized very, very quickly that we were not going to be able to finish this blunt. There was way more smoke billowing out of this Swisher than we were prepared for. The bathroom was already getting smoky. Like, we could look around and just tell that it was getting smoky in there, and it was becoming a problem really fast. We tried kind of holding the blunt up in between hits, and that didn't really do much because the fan just wasn't getting rid of the smoke fast enough. The smoke was spreading throughout the room, and the fan just couldn't keep up. It sounded very powerful, it seemed very powerful, but it just was not enough for the power of a Swisher Sweet. So we realized pretty quick, like, damn, we gotta put this out soon. Like, there's no way we're finishing this blunt, but also, it was hitting different, dude. This was like magic. I couldn't imagine how Marvin felt tapping this blunt. This was probably absolutely magical. He's been laying in the hospital sober. All of a sudden, he's off a ladder hitting a blunt in the bathroom. Like, this must have been a fever dream for this dude. This must have been one of the greatest highs of his life, dude. The greatest relief he's ever experienced, okay? So we each take our couple rotos to this, and we put it out very quickly. I remember we put that bitch out. I threw it back in the package with the other unrolled wrap, mind you, completely polluting the other wrap's flavor, but listen, who cared, all right? Back in these days, we were off so many Xans, the only thing I tasted was Alp, okay? So I wasn't really concerned about the flavor on my Swisher. But we put this shit out, and we cranked up the fan, and we started kind of trying to waft the air up towards the fan. We were taking our hands and just swinging them up in the air, hoping that all the smoke would slowly get sucked out, and it actually kind of worked. I think if we smoked any more of this blunt, like if we smoked the whole thing, 100% we would have gotten caught. No question about it. Like, trust me, guys, if you want to smoke a blunt at the hospital, you would have an easier time just sneaking the homie out, okay? Unplug him from the machines, bring him a hoodie and some pants, and send his ass outside for a smoke, okay? We should have gone with that option. Instead, we risked the bathroom, and dear God, it barely worked, okay? However, we did get away with it. We put out the blunt, we're wafting the smoke all up to the fan, and it reeked. You see, smoking weed naturally smells. Someone who doesn't smoke is going to pick up on that smell very easily. But there's a certain smell that a Swisher emanates that is just next level disgusting. And this smell was now filling the entire room outside of the bathroom. It had penetrated the towel. The towel now smelled like Swisher. We had a stink throughout the room. So I'm sitting there like, fuck, dude, like this is not good. What do? We can't open the window to air it out. Like, what do we do? And we just kind of chilled. We were waiting, half expecting someone to kick the door in and throw us all out, be like, hey, fuck your treatment, dude. You're done. Get out of the hospital. You know, we were sitting there just kind of tripping. And I didn't want to leave immediately because that would look more sketchy. So we're just kind of sitting there. Nicely stoned. Not extremely stoned, but, you know, first smoke of the day, 10 a.m. type beat, still feeling good. And also very, very sufficiently barred out. We were vibing in that hoe. And I spent pretty much the entire day just vibing there with Marvin. Now, we had gone back a few hours after that initial blunt attempt. Everything cooled down, everything chilled out, no one ever said anything. A nurse came in and checked on him and brought him some food, and she didn't say anything either. So after that happened, we figured like, okay, you know, I think we're in the money. And we spun it back. You best believe we're not smoking a quarter of a blunt and tapping out. We spun that shit back. Later in the day, we hit the bathroom again, same exact strategy, you know? And we have been chilling all day, mind you. Hospital's boring, so this felt like a Splinter Cell mission, okay? We hop back in the bathroom, towel under the door, turn the fan on, same strat. Except this time, we got a little more bald. We were like, all right, let's try to smoke a little more of it. We still didn't finish the blunt. We smoked about half of it. So now we had a quarter left. So roach territory, you know, cockroach territory. We smoked the last half of that blunt and we had the quarter left. And I was like, you know what, Marvin? I gotta head out of here soon. You know, the visiting time ends fairly soon here. And also, we have been chilling together like the entirety of the day, you know. Give Marvin some time to talk to family, you know, have his privacy, whatever it is. Go beat your meat in the bathroom. All right, that's not my business, okay? So after we smoked that final half of the blunt, we had popped a couple more Xans each, you know? We each took a couple more. I left him some extra goodies, and I also left him the roach and the other wrap with some weed. I left him a whole loadout. I said, listen, bro, you got everything you need now to go become a man, okay? You have Xans, you have marijuana, you have wraps, you have a lighter, you have everything you need for survival, okay? Scratch the food, scratch the water. These are the real American essentials. And he agreed. He agreed. So I dipped on out of that hospital, and Marvin was left with the goods. Marvin was left vibing. Probably the best hospital visit he's had, I would imagine. I mean, I can't imagine a much better hospital experience. You're just in that house still getting high, barred out, they're feeding you. Now, looking back at it, one thing I question is, you know, why would you want, like, how would the hospital staff not know that you're barred out? Like, would they not come in and be like, oh, Marvin, your heart rate dropped 50%? And he's just like, dude, I'm really chilling right now. Like, are they just gonna buy that? Like, what are they gonna do? I don't know. I always wondered about that. Looking back at this story, it makes me wonder a lot, actually. Like, how do they? I mean, I guess he was probably like getting surgeries and probably doped up on so much other shit that, like, fuck it. But then that also raises the question of, was it even safe for him to be taking Xanax? Because look, I didn't even ask if they had him drugged up on anything. I figure he probably should have asked himself. I don't know. Wow. Yeah, this is, all right, wow. A lot of factors, a lot of questions in this one. Okay, all right, either way, we're going to wrap it up here before I start rambling. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out the $50 ounces on Only Gas. You know where to find them. Hey, thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Deuces.